Welcome to our gathering here at First Unitarian Universalist Church of Stockton. We are glad you're here and hope you will find here what you seek. We are a community of individuals holding many different beliefs, coming from many different places, and each progressing on our own journeys of life and faith. We join together in our commitment to care for humanity and to shape a better, healthier, more hopeful world. We promise to accept and encourage all those persons of goodwill who gather here, recognizing that we all continue to grow and learn throughout our lifetimes. We especially welcome and stand with LGBTQ persons, even as we seek to welcome all persons of every age, ability, status, and shade of skin. We strive to make our community a place of peace and acceptance, love and nurture, even as we challenge ourselves and others to live more faithfully according to the values of Unitarian Universalism. We are again taping our service today due to the COVID-19 virus. We don't have any regular announcements because we don't know what's going to be going on yet, but we continue to hope we will soon be out of this quarantine. We are glad that you are joining us for our Easter and Passover service. We light our chalice today to celebrate Easter and Passover, holidays of our Judeo-Christian heritage.
Happy Easter. Good morning to all of you at home. The first reading is from Mark 16. It's entitled Easter Morning. On the first day of the week, at early dawn, they came to the tomb, saying, "Who will roll away the stone from the entrance to the tomb?" They looked up and saw that the stone had already been rolled back, and on the right they saw a young man. They were alarmed, but the man said to them, "Why do you seek the living among the dead?" So they went out and fled from the tomb, for terror and amazement had seized them, and they said nothing, for they were afraid.
Now the green blade riseth from the buried grain, wheat that in dark earth many days has lain. Love lives again, that with the dead has been. Love is come again, like wheat that springeth green. In the grave they laid him, love by hatred slain, thinking that never he would wake again. Laid in the earth, like rain that sleeps unseen. Love is come again, like wheat that springeth green. When our hearts are in travail, grieving or in pain, love's touch can call us back to life again. Fields of our hearts that dead and bare have seen, love is come again, like wheat that springeth green.
At this time, we invite you to virtually greet one another. We know that we can't be together, but we encourage you to send good energy to all those who you usually see in our congregation. And at this time, we share our words of affirmation, usually broken into two parts for children and adults, but I will share both parts. We believe in love. Love is the only doctrine of this church. We believe in truth. The quest for truth is our sacrament. We believe in helping others, and service is our prayer. We believe in the sacredness of life. To dwell together in peace, seek knowledge in freedom, serve humanity in fellowship, and cherish the earth and its creatures, this do we covenant, each with the other.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken
The Easter Egg by Jan Brett. Cheer up, spring is here. Time to start on my first ever Easter egg, Hoppy said. Each year, the bunny who decorated the winning egg got to help the Easter rabbit hide the eggs on Easter morning. Hoppy had been dreaming about being that bunny all year long. Now it was time to get started. Everywhere Hoppy looked, rabbits were working on dazzling eggs. I need an amazing idea, he thought. Hoppy spotted Flora Bunny planting spring wildflowers in her eggs. The Easter rabbit will love these colorful flowers, he thought, and started picking flowers for his egg. Here's a basket for your flowers, Hoppy, Flora said. Chop, chop, scrape, scrape. Hoppy spied Buster Birch carving a magnificent wooden egg. I wish I had some wood for my egg, he wished out loud. Here you go, Hoppy, Buster Birch said, and he put a smooth, round piece of wood in Hoppy's basket. Thank you, Buster, Hoppy said. Hoppy was hopping along when the smell of sweetness led him out of the woods and straight to the chocolate egg that Aunt Sassafras was decorating with creamy frosting squiggles and bows. Hello, Hoppy, she said, and she put some chocolate squares in his basket. Hippity hop, Hoppy exclaimed. I'll make the Easter rabbit a chocolate egg so sweet it will make his whiskers tingle. Then Hoppy saw Granny Irene decorating one of her fabulous story eggs. First, she traced a design on the egg with a special tool. Then she dipped the egg in pots of yellow, green, orange, and red dye, adding to the design each time. Hoppy couldn't believe his eyes. I'll never make an egg that beautiful, he told Granny Irene. She smiled. Try, she said, giving him one of her special tools. Hoppy was hopping by Hans Vanderrabbit's garden when he spotted an extraordinary egg. Hans was painting a portrait of the Easter rabbit so real that he looked alive. Fantastic, Hoppy exclaimed. Thank you, Hoppy, Hans said. Why don't you make a painting on your egg? He gave Hoppy pots of paint and a fine brush. As Hoppy bounced along, a loud boing nearly knocked him off his feet. It was a whirling, twirling, mechanical egg. Whoa, Hoppy said. That's an unusual egg. Would you like to make one? Roberto asked. Hoppy tried hard. But the harder he tried, the more parts and pieces piled up around him. Thank you, Roberto, he sighed, but I think I better make the egg that is right for me. Hoppy hopped back to the woods and laid down under a tall tree to think. Making a beautiful egg is harder than I imagined, he thought. I guess I don't have to win. I just want to make an egg I'm proud of. Suddenly, the woods rang with the squawking of birds sounding an alarm. Mother Robin swooped down, calling wildly as if she couldn't decide where to go. An egg had tumbled out of Mother Robin's nest. Inside the perfect blue egg was a baby robin that needed its mother to keep it warm until it hatched. Hoppy knew what he had to do. He sat down carefully and covered the blue egg with his soft, warm fur. I'll take care of you the best I can, he whispered. Relieved, Mother Robin chirped and settled down on her other 2 eggs. Hoppy never left the robin's egg. If it was sunny and warm, he carefully turned the egg in its nest of moss. If it was rainy and cold, he kept the egg covered and dry. At night, wild animals passed by. Hoppy crouched down and stayed hidden in the ferns. Often he heard strange noises coming from above, but Hoppy didn't run away. Every day the rabbits worked on their eggs. Tadpoles turned into frogs, buds swelled into leaves, and Easter came closer and closer. Finally, it was time for the rabbits to take their eggs to the glen. They had forgotten all about Hoppy, who was quietly sitting on the blue egg under the tall tree in the woods. Early the next morning, the rabbits waited for the Easter rabbit. Suddenly, a beautiful wagon rolled toward them out of the mist. And stopped. The Easter Bunny stepped down from the wagon and admired the decorated eggs one by one. "You have brought me the most beautiful eggs in the world, but a very special one is not here," he told them. The rabbits were puzzled. Whose egg could it be? "Fill my wagon with your wonderful eggs," he said. "When I return, I will show it to you." And he disappeared into the woods. He came back with Hoppy, looking scruffy and bedraggled. "Hoppy has an amazing egg to be proud of," the Easter rabbit told them. "He has kept Mother Robin's egg warm and safe until her baby bird hatched and she could take care of it." The Easter rabbit placed the empty blue shell in the place of honor atop the wagon. Now they were ready to go. The rabbits cheered for the egg that had surprised them all. "It's our best Easter ever, Hoppy," they shouted. Then the brave little bunny and the Easter rabbit rode off together to hide the eggs for girls and boys to find on Easter morning. The end. There we go.
At this time, we share milestones in our lives by lighting candles of joy and concern. I only lit one candle, but I think of many people who are in need of our good energy. I think of Clark and Pat and so many others that could use our good energy and our outreach. I invite us into a time of silent thought, prayer, and meditation. For our joys and concerns, we give a special thanks for this community on this Easter weekend. We're glad for the people who have been part of this church, who reach out to each other, who work to share caring concerns, who are there to listen and hear all that needs to be said, that support us in our coming out and of our real selves, so that we can be safe in this community where we can always be heard. We give thanks for this time we share, even virtually, and for this community that makes all things possible. Amen. number 628, Rolling Away the Stone. In the tomb of the soul we carry secret yearnings, pains, frustrations, loneliness, fears, regrets, worries. In the tomb of the soul we take refuge from the world and its heaviness. In the tomb of the soul we wrap ourselves in the security of darkness. Sometimes this is a comfort, sometimes it is an escape. Sometimes it prepares us for experience, sometimes it insulates us from life. Sometimes this tomb life gives us time to feel the pain of the world and reach out to heal others. Sometimes it numbs us and locks us up with our own concerns. In this season where light and dark balance the day, we seek balance for ourselves. Grateful for the darkness that has nourished us, we push away the stone and invite the light to awaken us to the possibilities within us and among us. Possibilities for new life in ourselves and in our world. Sarah Moores Campbell. At this time, we invite the sharing of gifts and offerings. If you have a pledge or a gift that you'd like to share, please send it to our church office, 2737 Pacific Avenue, Stockton, California, 95204.
The next reading is entitled Passover by Congregation Beth El, Sudbury, Massachusetts. What sacrifices would we make for freedom today? What would we leave? How far would we go? How deeply would we look within ourselves? Our ancestors had no time to await the rising of the bread. Yet we, who have the time, what do we do to be worthy of our precious inheritance? We were slaves in Egypt, but now we are free. How easy is it for us to relive the days of our bondage as we sit in the warmth and comfort of our Seder? How much harder to relieve the pain of those who live in the bitterness of slavery today.
The sermon today, Easter and Passover for you used in a pandemic. Happy Easter to all who celebrate Easter. Happy Passover to all who celebrate Passover. And best wishes to all for surviving the pandemic. May you continue in good health. What should one say in the midst of a pandemic? Passover celebrates survival through a series of plagues. Easter celebrates resurrection after crucifixion. The passages through plagues and death do provide something of an analogy to our hopes for surviving COVID-19. These are surely challenging times which have brought too many deaths and too much illness already before the viral contagion has even peaked in most of our nation and the world. There have already been miraculous stories, several of them, of survival by even those in high-risk categories. But there have also been too many deaths, too much suffering. We've lost too many well-known musicians and other celebrities, and far too many ordinary people. The celebrations of both Easter and Passover involved gatherings of worshipers and families. But this year, gatherings in any number are limited by official orders from state health departments, and such gatherings would be very unwise in most cases anyway. In several previous years, I celebrated Seder gatherings with other UUs, which helped to remind us of the history of Passover with the plagues, including locusts and the deaths of Egypt's firstborn, as well as the destruction of more recent wars and societal problems. The main gathering for Easter is the Sunday morning service, often one of our better attended services. Many Christian congregations and some citywide associations usually hold annual Easter sunrise services. Not this year. And then families often have their own Easter gatherings. Easter is one of the two most important Christian holidays, along with Christmas, which celebrates Jesus' birth. Easter baskets and Easter egg hunts, presided over by the Easter Bunny, are all borrowed from Germanic pagan tradition, but will certainly be missed by many families this year. In considering Easter, I've often thought about the many lesser deaths and challenges we face in life, and the times we each need some kind of resurrection to get through. Passover celebrates the hardships endured by the people before the exodus from Egypt could begin, an exodus during which the people of Israel wandered a long time in the wilderness before eventually entering the Promised Land. Many of our struggles are personal, but the COVID-19 pandemic is affecting people worldwide in every living generation. For those who survive, this time will be retold in stories by every generation, in every nation, about a time of challenge and survival. The stories might skip the parts where we courageously held down our couches and watched Netflix. For many of us, accustomed to the freedom to go where we like, whenever we want, the confinement is a serious hardship. Not perhaps as serious as 3 days in a tomb or a series of plagues followed by 40 years in the wilderness, but harder than many of the things we have faced in recent decades here in the United States. Celebrating Easter or Passover this year is not really possible except in the company of whatever small group of persons with whom we might be sharing our quarantine living places. Holding church services or larger seders is not possible and would not be safe. The earliest gatherings of Christians were held in homes, and seders are really based on household observance. But this year we welcome no visitors and invite no friends nor relatives to our meals. Hopefully COVID-19 will pass us by so that next year we will have another stanza to our Passover song, another metaphor of resurrection in our Easter celebration. For now, however, we wait to experience whatever is coming. Hopefully an early end to the quarantine with vaccines and treatments that will prevent more illness and death. This quarantine is working to stretch out the period of contagion so that health systems are not overwhelmed, and estimates of deaths have dropped significantly. Knowing that the quarantine is working is sort of a dual-edged sword, in that the better it works, the longer we need to keep it going to have the best outcome possible. Certainly, it will be several more weeks before the quarantine orders are lifted and we can attempt to get back to a more normal way of living. We can celebrate that lives have been saved. We may also grumble about staying locked down for several more weeks as the weather gets better and so many opportunities for recreation, along with that need to be working, draw us out. Easter comes only after resurrection, and Passover comes only when Pharaoh relents after the plagues and agrees to let the people of Israel leave Egypt. We need the resurrection, and we need the freedom that we ordinarily would be celebrating in this season. Until the point at which we are freed to be out and about, we need a sense of hope that our actions will make a difference. Reports of deaths and infections in China, South Korea, and Italy have given us very different ideas about the dangers of COVID-19. South Korea was quick to test and able to shut things down so that it had a reasonably good outcome. China, of course, locked things down, but also suffered greatly. Italy tried to lock things down ineffectively and faced huge losses. We now have more people infected than anywhere else in the world, but the quarantines are working, and working far better in California than in most other places in the United States, especially New York. The expected casualties are still far too high, but much lower than just a few days ago. The timeline for treatments and vaccines is still too long to make things much better, but progress is being made, and so there is hope. Now, scientists and researchers in this country are among the best in the world, but too often in the last few years, their efforts have been hampered by a regime that doesn't believe or pay attention to science. In the last few weeks, Trump seems to be paying a little more attention to the doctors and other scientists, but the situation could have been much better if he had paid attention earlier. Now that science and medicine are getting more attention, there is hope that things will continue to get better, even if the quarantines must continue a while longer. Donald Trump has sometimes cast himself as a savior, suggesting that he alone had the answers the world, or at least the United States, needs. His bluster fails to fit either Jewish or Christian messianic expectations on many counts, but I want to mention just a couple. Jewish messianism awaits a king in David's line, and presumably with David's temperament. Now, David was not always perfect, but David repented and humbled himself when called to account. This obviously is not the current situation. Jesus accepted the cross and crucifixion to atone and accept responsibility not for his own sins, but for the sins of all humanity. The Donald has often stated that things are not his responsibility, denying, for example, that he was briefed on COVID-19 and its risks months ago, not only ignored the warnings, but called it a democratic hoax. I only mention these things to make clear that this does not appear to be the year when either Jewish or Christian hopes for a Messiah or a second coming will be fulfilled. Well, at least not through Trump. Whether those hopes will ever be fulfilled is another question, of course. So we have a troubling time to celebrate either Passover or Easter this year, a time in which far too much of the human population is suffering and is at risk. We have hopes for science to bring a solution, but it will take time to test the safety of vaccines and other treatments. We must practice patience, not something that our deliver-on-demand society is very good at doing. We are much better with immediate gratification. So this time is a good lesson for all of us about waiting. Though we can get around the waiting through Netflix, food deliveries, and anything we want from Amazon, we still are waiting. At least part of the time we have to wait, and waiting is not a bad thing. Waiting gives us time to read, to call, text, email, or write to friends, to work on projects around the house, to catch up with ourselves for so much time that we have spent on the run. Our Easter and Passover gift is to learn patience, to slow down, to pay attention to the world around us. As Unitarian Universalists, we choose which holidays, if any, we will celebrate. Now, since my background and heritage are in the Judeo-Christian traditions, I tend to include Passover and Easter in my own list of holidays, though their meanings have changed considerably from when I was a child or youth. Like Christmas and Hanukkah, they are cultural holidays in our society rather than just religious celebrations, and so carry cultural meanings as well as religious ones. With or without matzahs, Easter eggs, and Easter baskets, They offer a sense of hope that things will get better. We all need that sense of hope in times like these. We still have many tough weeks ahead, but today we celebrate the hope for a better tomorrow. May that hope continue to inspire us through all the challenges yet to come in this season, this year. Be safe, be thankful for all the good in our world, and please stay healthy. Happy Easter, happy Passover, blessed be, namaste, and amen.
Jesus Christ is risen today. Alleluia. Earth and heaven in chorus say, Alleluia. Raise your joys and triumphs high. Alleluia. Sing ye heavens and earth reply. Alleluia. Love's redeeming work is done. Alleluia. Fought the fight, the battle won. Alleluia. Death in vain forbids him rise. Alleluia. Christ has opened paradise. Alleluia. Hearts are strong and voices sing. Alleluia. Where, O death, is now thy sting? Alleluia. As he died, his truth to save. Alleluia. Let thy victory, O grave. Alleluia. Sorry now where Christ has led. Alleluia. Living out the words he said. Alleluia. Made like him we rise. Alleluia. As across the grave the skies. Alleluia.
I invite you to virtually join hands with all those others of this congregation and others you'd like to invite. May this congregation always be dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences, beneath all our diversity, there's a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together, in spite of time and death and the space between the stars. We pause in silent witness to that unity. May the blessing of love be upon you. May love's peace abide with you. May love's presence illuminate your hearts now and forevermore. Amen. Be at peace. Stay healthy. Happy Easter. Happy Passover. Amen.